and gentlemen, for the world's largest democracy, Chunav ka Parv is Desh ka Garv, the biggest festival in which the citizens of India come together to exercise their right to vote, to become the bhagidars in shaping governance at every level. But do you know that India's democratic journey began with simultaneous elections for the Lok Sabha and state assemblies? Then one decision by Indira Gandhi derailed the one election system. Since independence, over 400 elections to the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies have taken place. And one nation, many polls has ensured that we are always in election mode. To address logistical challenges, to reduce costs and minimize disruptions to the people of this country, and above all, to deliver governance round-the-clock developmental work, the NDA government cleared the One Nation, One Poll bill and introduced in Parliament today in Lok Sabha. As citizens, we expected a debate on the advantages and disadvantages of this bill. Why the government thought that this is the biggest electoral reform that India needs, and why it was being seen as a game changer. But no, instead of that, what took place in Parliament was a debate about power dynamics between the centre and states, between national and regional parties. Opposition that got divided over the Adani issue now came together on One Nation, One Poll, saying that it would erode India's federal structure. It would weaken the centre's autonomy. In fact, as you heard in the beginning, the Trinamool Congress, AIMIM and the Samajwadi Party made it all about ego and desire of one supreme leader and dictatorship. They even indulged in fear-mongering, suggesting that one nation, one election will finish regional parties and will bring presidential rule. The question that begs an answer is, why oppose reforms to defeat Modi? I'm asking this with a lot of responsibility tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And here's why. India had one nation, one election under Jawaharlal Nehru, and then one decision by Indira Gandhi turned it into one nation, many elections, a catch-22 situation for Rahul Gandhi. Though we didn't hear from him today what his own view on this was, but his party's MPs opposed it in Parliament, and amidst the uproar, the demand was to send it to a joint parliamentary committee, which even the government had no option but to agree with. Listen in to the war of words on One Nation, One Election.
संविधान 129वां संशोधन विधेयक 2024.
I beg to move for leave to introduce the Constitution 129th Amendment Bill.
Bills which have been moved by the Honourable Minister of Law and Justice absolutely assault the basic structure of the Constitution.
माननीय सदस्य मनीष तिवारी ने 72 का हवाला देकर जो विचार व्यक्त किए हैं और जो विरोध किया है, इस पर सदन का कोई भी सदस्य अपने विचार रख सकता है। अब कांग्रेस पार्टी में विचार रख सकता है मतलब विरोध ही करना है।
और ये लोग एक देश, एक संविधान, एक चुनाव की बात करते हैं। जो लोग 8 विधानसभाएं भी एक साथ नहीं करा पाते हो।
It is not an election reforms. It is just a fulfillment of one gentleman's desire and dream. Nothing more than that.
This bill is only brought in to massage the ego of the supreme leader.
विपक्ष वाले 6 महीने से हर एक मुद्दे को असंवैधानिक बताने की कोशिश यहाँ पर कर रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है कि रिफॉर्म शब्द जब ये आता है, तभी कांग्रेस को रिफॉर्म शब्द से ही एलर्जी यहाँ पर मुझे लगता है कि कांग्रेस को है।
ये है ही नहीं विशेष में, ये राजनीतिक कारणों से इसका विरोध कर रहे हैं।
Well, now let's look at the question of whether it's only just this reform that has been opposed, or have there been others? In fact, reforms for Rajniti have been opposed for a long time. You, the viewers, see and decide for yourself. Remember, one of the biggest reforms in recent past was the abolishing of the triple talaq. Congress opposed it and called it a historic blunder. But do you know what was the impact? 82% decline in triple talaq cases in 1 year. And it turned out to be a historic moment for social justice and empowerment of women. Then, if you look at the 3 farm laws that had to be rolled back, eventually the Congress actually had said that this would weaken nation's foundation when they themselves had proposed this in their own manifesto. And do you know what the experts on the subject have stated? That these are reforms that are needed to weed out middlemen from the system of the farm community, and that they are needed to improve market efficiency and to give farmers freedom to sell anywhere in the country at any price. But once again, Rajniti did not allow this bill to become a law, and it never saw the light of day. Not only this, let me also mention the Uniform Civil Code. Opposition led by the Congress has been opposing it, saying it's not practical. But the Supreme Court on many occasions has stated that it is in the interest of integrity and unity of the country that there should be a uniform civil code. It is even listed in the directive principles of the Samvidhan, but being opposed by the Vipaksh. So, ladies and gentlemen, just for a few more votes, is the opposition okay with the now stalling one India and one election? Remember, in 2013, Rahul Gandhi turned reformist and tore an ordinance by the UPA government to shield convicted lawmakers. But today, a reform that is being seen as a game changer is being opposed. Before I come to my legitimate question, I also want you to hear what Home Minister Amit Shah said in his fierce takedown to the so-called Samvidhan Crusaders.
आज तक इतने साल चुनाव हुए, किसी ने आम सभाओं में संविधान को लहराया नहीं। संविधान को लहराकर, झूठ बोलकर जनादेश लेने का कुत्सित प्रयास कांग्रेस पार्टी के नेताओं के माध्यम से। महाराष्ट्र में भी लहराने के अलावे बांटने गए तो एक पत्रकार के हाथ में भी आ गया, खोला तो मान्यवर पूरा कोरा था। इतना बड़ा छल मेरे जीवन में तो मैंने ना देखा है ना जाना। ये बार बार दोहराना चाहिए। 140 करोड़ लोगों को रट हो जाना चाहिए, जिससे कोई हिम्मत न कर सके इमरजेंसी डालने की। हर बच्चे को रटाना चाहिए कि तानाशाहों को क्या करना चाहिए।
So, ladies and gentlemen, the Motorola legitimate question that we're asking on the news hour tonight is, what's good for Bharat? Is it unacceptable to INDIA or the India Alliance? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, GVL Narasimha Rao, National Spokesperson and former Member of Parliament of the BJP, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at the IPCS, Deepak Reddy, National Spokesperson of the TDP. Also joining me on the debate, Ghanshyam Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Reena Gupta, Secretary, Delhi State Aam Aadmi Party and National Spokesperson. But my first question goes to Dr. Sanjay Jha, author, Congress leader, and a man who is normally reasonable, except on occasions when he takes everything Rahul Gandhi so seriously to heart. And I want to ask you, Dr. Sanjay Jha, one nation, one election, isn't it a reformist step? Of course, you would have your views on it, and that's why a debate in Parliament was expected to discuss on the merits of the provisions of the bill, on whether or not it takes it forward. Why is the opposition always in such a mood that anything that comes in, they just have to block it? Nothing will pass the muster, whether it is the Farm Bill, whether it is GST, whether it is one nation, one election, whether it is the triple talaq. Why is always everything such a huge issue, such a naysayers, benches in the opposition who do not even wait to evaluate before they say no and push back any reform?
Navika, good evening. I think a very serious debate on a very pertinent issue that we are discussing today. Let me be upfront and nail it at the very beginning. I have read the provisions of the One Nation, One Election, One Poll. This is a bad law and it is bad for democracy. I'll repeat that. It's a bad law and it's bad for democracy. And I'm sure we will get into the details. But here is the one, I think, very straightforward disclosure that needs to be made. When the committee was formed to come up with the recommendations headed by the former president of India, not a single leader of a regional party or the opposition was part of that committee. That itself should tell you as to whether one can even take this seriously, because the biggest stakeholder in the One Nation, One Election are the states. Various states which are headed by many regional parties. Point number one. Point number two, one of the reasons espoused in the One Nation, One Election is cost. And I would love to ask this question of my friend GVL, that end of day, if you look at the cost issue, GVL, in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it is estimated that the official expenditure in running the election was around 7,000 crores. But do you know how much money was spent by political parties in financing the election? Over 1,35,000 crores. And the majority, 90%, was black money. My dear friend, this is what you should be addressing, not trying to mislead the people of India on One Nation, One Election. And Navika, this is very crucial, and I'll tell you why. Because even if One Nation, One Election were to happen, let's assume hypothetically it happens, even then, there will be elections to 28 states along with the general election. So what kind of minuscule savings are you really talking about? Point number four, the BJP must understand there's this political arrogance that they impose on passing bills. It will hurt not just the country, it will hurt them. You had egg on your face, GVL, on the farm laws, which the Prime Minister had to call back. On the land acquisition, you had the same fate. The Supreme Court struck the electoral bond as unconstitutional because it was seen as a mafia operation, extortion and bribery. And you today, from what I'm hearing in the papers, are likely to challenge the Places of Worship Act, which the Supreme Court itself has called as the basic structure of the Constitution. So your commitment to the Constitution is for anybody to see. And Navika, let me tell you this straight. Anyone who's read the provisions of One Nation, One Election will tell you that they have no answer to one question. What happens if a state government collapses before the 5-year term? And look at the ridiculous recommendation they have made. One, it will go under precedence rule for the remaining term, which means more authoritarian control by Delhi, which is again anti-democratic. The second suggestion given is there will be an election for the balance period of the term of the state, which tells you there will be no cost saving because you want another election. And worse, it will be for a limited term. So you want the people to vote for 2 or 3 years of a government? What kind of
Sanjay Jha, you know, your argument is fallacious simply because I think you are assuming that every state, 28 of them, will have governments falling like 9 pins, 1 month, one after the other. You know, that's why assumptions and the worst possible assumptions is what does the opposition in. One, your serious problem is that this is, about a dictatorship, one man's whims and fancies. And I want to then ask GVL Narasimha Rao, if it's about one man's whims and fancies, then was Jawaharlal Nehru also a dictator? Because between 1952 and 1967, there were simultaneous polls in this country, discontinued only by Indira Gandhi after that. So was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also a dictator? Isn't that question that the Congress needs to look at?
Yeah, good evening to you and all the panelists, Navika. That's a question that Congress will find very difficult to answer. Did this constitution not exist in 1952? Until in 1967? Did this constitution not exist? Why was the cycle broken in 1971? Why was the parliament election advanced? Why were some governments dismissed? I think Congress has a lot to answer. And today, the Congress which claims this is an attack on federalism, on the founders of our democracy, the first Prime Minister of India, was he the first to assault India's constitution for 15 years to not to allow states to have their democratic rights? The Congress has to answer these questions. So what happened thereafter? As you rightly mentioned in the beginning, we have had 400 elections, on an average 6 elections in a year. So throughout the year, throughout 5 years of every government, you are facing one election or other. This is certainly a good news for economy also. The committee has examined 80% of the public who responded, who gave their opinions to the committee, they supported this particular issue. Out of 47 parties, nearly 39 parties have supported this issue. So what problem does the Congress have? Without every bill that the BJP comes about, every reform, every transformational reform that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has piloted, the Congress has blindly opposed it. Is it not sheer arrogance? And today Amit Shah ji in Rajya Sabha bared out. He really exposed the Congress party's hypocrisy. You keep talking about attack on freedom of speech. The first amendment to the Constitution, as Amit Shah ji mentioned today, was amending the freedom of speech, curtailing freedom of speech. And the so-called federal structure that you are talking about, your spirit of federalism, you are the one who imposed nearly 90 times Article 356 and dismissed governments before their term got over. Can you name one government that we have dismissed while it is in office? We've been in power for nearly 11 years now continuously. We've not done that once. So the Congress is the real culprit, which has actually mounted an attack on the Constitution. It's the BJP, which certainly Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, we have come out with all the constitutional amendments that we came up with.
Sure, but the fact is, Sanjay Jha, the fact is that it's not only about saving money, it's also about governance. Do you realize that between the Lok Sabha elections and then the elections of Maharashtra and other states, how much time was wasted? Do you know how much time the model code of conduct was there? Please ask industry, please ask people who are waiting for governments to take decisions, how long they have been put out to dry simply because there is one election or the other. And that is the question. Somebody who is well versed in how India Inc. works, how the economy works, you should be able to understand and appreciate
Navika, I'll answer that. Navika, I'll answer that. Number one, the model code of conduct, of course. And we know who adheres to the model code of conduct. It is violated left, right and center by the BJP itself in government. Point number two, who's asking Prime Minister Mr. Modi to really spend his time campaigning? He should spend his time in governance in Delhi. If you don't have leaders, if your leaders don't have political capital,
No. That now is a that is the problem. You have a problem with Prime Minister Modi. It is all personal. Somebody says he's a dictator. Now Sanjay Jha comes out and says, why is he campaigning? Why shouldn't he campaign? Should he give a walkover to the Congress party and other opposition parties? Why is such a suggestion being made? Do you find it difficult to contest elections when Modi is campaigning? Well, Mr. Deepak Reddy, what a bizarre reason for not having one nation, one election. And he doesn't realize that whether the Prime Minister is sitting in Delhi or campaigning, decisions cannot be taken in a model code of conduct. But Deepak Reddy, please respond.
But the BJP...
Navika ji, I was really trying to understand the Congress and the India ecosystem's mind. And I feel the only reason they're opposing it is because it's being proposed by the BJP. I didn't find any logical reason other than that. Actually, in Telugu Desam Party, we had a detailed discussion about this a year ago. And we were under the opinion that it is against the interest of regional parties. But of recently, Chandrababu Naidu ji has announced his support. Clearly, the national interest stands before the state interests, is what he said. Now, this is something what parties from across the country should be looking at and take Chandrababu Naidu ji as a role model. It's very clear. I read a report which says that the cost saving to the government would be around 30,000 crores. And this is part of the electoral reforms. Like last election, an MLA in Andhra Pradesh spent between 40 to 60 crores. So we need reforms like this. Look at voter fatigue. There are a lot of places where the turnout is less than 50%. And what's important is certain dangerous trends in some states, like Tamil Nadu, the DMK, talking about anti-national, language. So in such places, yes, this will help in the larger interest. So one thing I would like to say today is, let's look into Rahul Gandhi's heart and mind. Rather than having a defeat once every other month, he would probably feel comfortable having one grand defeat once in 5 years, and then he can go do what he likes, traveling and partying. So I take a bet, Navika ji, if you can convince Rahul Gandhi ji for a polygraph test, this is what is going to come out from his heart too.
Well, Deepak Reddy, I'm not sure Rahul Gandhi is taking advice from me. Remember, I'm the boycotted anchor who doesn't get even a glimpse of Rahul Gandhi, and that's democratic as per Congress's standards. But be that as it may, I want to ask you, Reena Gupta. Reena Gupta, elections round the clock, is it good for the country or not? It's an issue of debate. For sure, I'm not saying that, just shut your eyes and pass the bill, and that just because, the ruling party has brought a bill, nobody should, bat an eyelid. But my question to you is, why is every issue such a red flag to the opposition? Why can't we debate things? In the end, may the best argument win. But why is there always a wall? Why is the opposition not willing to consider anything? Is this only and only about targeting one man, Narendra Modi, that if he's brought something, he's got these dictatorial aspirations, and therefore the opposition has only one response, which is to block everything that he suggests?
Navika ji, this is the latest shagufa jumla that the Bharatiya Janata Party is presenting before the country. One nation, one election. We should be talking about one nation, one education. One nation, one health program. ये एक और शगुफा लेके आए हैं कि आप सोचिए नेता कब जाता है पब्लिक के पास, जब चुनाव होते हैं. अब आप सिलेंडर कर देंगे 2,000 रुपए का, पेट्रोल कर देंगे 500 रुपए का, उसके बाद 5 साल आप जनता के पास जाएंगे ही नहीं. आप तो आराम से मजे करेंगे, विदेश चले जाएंगे. जहां तक पैसा बचाने की बात है,
आप किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? 15 आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट समबडी स्पेसिफिकली?
नहीं, मैं तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बात कर रही हूं नविका जी, की भारतीय जनता पार्टी को लोगों के पास जाने में प्रॉब्लम क्या है चुनाव के लिए? आप ये बताइए कि अगर 3 साल में अमित शाह जी ने किसी एक स्टेट की सरकार गिरा दी, जैसा कि हम देखते हैं कि लगातार ये लोग पार्टियां गिरा रहे हैं, सरकारें गिरा रहे हैं, तो वहां पे 2 साल फिर प्रेसिडेंट रूल चलेगा क्या? ये कहां की डेमोक्रेसी है कि आप सरकारें गिराइए और फिर प्रेसिडेंट रूल लगाइए वहां पे? ये तो सीधे सीधे डेमोक्रेसी का मर्डर है. जब चुनाव तो होते रहने चाहिए लगातार. आप किसने कहा है कि चुनाव के लिए अगर म्युनिसिपैलिटी के चुनाव है तो उसमें मोदी जी को क्यों भेज रहे हैं आप प्रचार करने के लिए? हर चुनाव में आप मोदी जी को क्यों भेज रहे हैं आप प्रचार करने के लिए? दिल्ली एमसीडी चुनाव में आप दिल्ली के नेताओं को भेज रहे हैं.
The objection is not so much to the bill as it is to Mr. Modi campaigning. GVL Narasimha Rao, please respond.
It exposes the BJP lie on governance.
These arguments are really bizarre. They only exhibit their insecurity against contesting elections against Prime Minister Modi ji leading our campaigns. He's an elected Prime Minister. He's a politician. He's the tallest leader of the BJP. He is not a political person. Just because he's in the office of Prime Minister, he doesn't cease to be a BJP leader. Our tallest leader will campaign for the BJP in important state elections, in all state elections. Why not? Have the previous Prime Ministers. Manmohan Singh ji may not have done it because he was not a mass leader. All said and done. But did Rajiv Gandhi not campaign? Did Indira Gandhi, did she not campaign in state elections? I think why should there be any embargo or any objection to Prime Minister Modi ji campaigning? Number one. Number two, why do you want elections all the time? I don't know. You think it's some kind of you want to remain in business possibly. I don't know. You have some extraneous interest in keeping elections happening all through the year. Is it because you want to
specify what's your charge? Really what is the extraneous interest that you are alleging, GVL Narasimha Rao? What is the extraneous interest that you are alleging against the opposition?
He's mocking Indian democracy as it exists.
Can I respond, please,
there are likely to be. Navika, there are likely to be several vested groups who will benefit from elections happening all the time.
Like who? Like who?
You have all the money.
May not be necessarily political parties.
You have all the money.
All the money is
if you made an allegation, you should also substantiate it.
Your argument.
Boss, all the electoral bond and black money is with you. Who spends? Who has the money?
You will spend. Can I just finish very briefly? You see, if one election, if Sanjay Jha himself is saying is costing 1 lakh crore rupees, parties are splurging that kind of money, having elections twice for every state, once for the Lok Sabha, once for the Assembly. Does it not double the expenditure? Does it not really result in wastage of money? Does it not become election? Does it not make elections prohibitive for people to contest?
Well, let me get in Ghanshyam Tiwari. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I pick up from what GVL Narasimha Rao has just said, and I also pick up the argument given by Reena Gupta ji. She says, why should politicians not keep going to the people? Why should they go to them only once in 5 years? I want to ask you, who's stopping politicians from going to the politicians every single day? Why should they not go to the people every single day? Now, can that be an argument against one nation, one election? And my issue is also, even if the BJP, let's say, for argument's sake, brings down a government, it hasn't brought down in the last 10 years, 30, 40, 50 governments. One or two post-election stuff that has happened. Apart from that, elections don't happen or governments don't fall every single morning. I'm asking you, why is this debate not the debate on the floor of the House? Why is just blocking any new suggestion become the way the opposition actually operates?
Good evening, Navika ji, to you, the viewers and fellow co-panelists. Anybody who has watched the debate in the parliament today will not agree with you. Every point that has been made here has been made more emphatically, whether the points made by GVL or points made by us in the opposition have been made more emphatically with facts and data in the parliament. None of the arguments here that are presented are much more stronger than what was spoken in parliament. Let's come to one nation, one election and the Prime Minister's joy of going and campaigning for BJP. In February 2022, Prime Minister announced in Manipur that vote for us and we will give you 25 years of peace and progress. For months, Manipur has burnt. The Supreme Court has admitted the tapes of N. Biren Singh, who was colluding in this as per his own voice on the tape. The Prime Minister does not require a visa to go to Manipur. So this is not about going to people, not going to people, Prime Minister's ability to campaign, not ability to campaign. This whole tamasha of one nation, one businessman, one nation, one media narrative, one nation, one show every day, one sham every day, one nation demonetization. This whole tamasha takes away the nation's attention from the fact that we are one nation where the youth don't have jobs. The papers keep getting leaked. People are facing terrible life situations because of the inflation. The government is not answering for anything that the people want. This is a government that believes in batoge katoge. And in the parliament on the constitution debate, no matter how emphatically Amit Shah said, the fact is dozens of members of parliament spoke about how BJP is squarely responsible in Uttar Pradesh for the murder of innocent people, 5 people. Not one BJP MP stood up and said that what the opposition MPs are saying is wrong. They're not standing up in the parliament shows that they understand that the Batoge Katoge party is squarely responsible for those murders. Not one opposition MP was responded to when they charged the Prime Minister that why is he not going to Manipur. The Prime Minister himself is barely present in the parliament. What nation and one parliament and one election we are talking about? And the parliament is in the run. And how many hours has the Prime Minister been seen in this winter session of parliament? He doesn't require a visitor's pass he's the leader of the house. So this argument that we are having here is irrelevant. The argument has been presented in the parliament. 20 MPs of BJP were missing. They had a whip. Their own MPs do not believe in this sham, but they know that with such shams they can distract the people from the problems that people face in jobs, from the problems that people face in the Batoge Katoge model, from the day-right murders that their government
But Ghanshyam Tiwari, people will vote them out wherever people don't like them, and that's what has happened in the Lok Sabha elections in Uttar Pradesh. But that is not the answer for objecting to one nation, one election, to my mind. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, where do you stand on this debate? Do you believe that the logic given by the opposition is better than the logic given in the bill by the government?
Navika, I've spent the last 20 minutes trying to suppress my laughter at the moment at the bizarre arguments I've been hearing from the so-called opposition. When we need a serious opposition, we have this kind of bizarre arguments touted as a responsible opposition. We are truly an unfortunate country. We deserve better than this. Let me go through this one by one. First, just a history lesson. Do you remember when Gujarat under Modi introduced Guj Coca, which was the exact same wording as M Coca, Maharashtra Coca? What did Chidambaram say? He said, we can't trust Modi and the Gujarat government with this, but he can trust the Maharashtra government with the same thing. So let us be clear right from the beginning. This has to do specifically with Modi. Point 1, cost, black money. What does black money have to do with an election? Whatever they want, they will lop it on. You look at cost. Is it easier to do 2 elections at one spot? There are so many reports that show you it is. Not just easier logistically. You go vote in the national booth and then in the state booth. दोनों का security बंदोबस्त एक साथ हो जाता है. दोनों logistical बंदोबस्त एक साथ हो जाता है. I don't even know where this argument is coming. It is such a honestly bizarre and economically nonsense argument. It is not even worth responding to. But anyway, second, Places of Worship Act. The Places of Worship Act isn't in the Constitution. It is an act. How can it be the basic structure of the Constitution? Again, bizarre. Electoral bonds are mafia. Where did the Supreme Court say it was mafia? Where do electoral bonds come into all of this? We're talking about one nation, one election, but no, they will talk about everything except, and it will go to electoral bonds. Term limits. They are so worried about the balance being 2 years. If it gets dismissed in 3 years, 2 years, it will be president's rule. Isn't curtailing the term of any elected legislature an even greater violation? You are given a mandate for 5 years, which means every single dismissal that has led to the situation in 1952 and a few subsequent elections, we had elections happen at the same time. So then if you say that curtailment of terms and things like that are unconstitutional, then you're admitting that every single dismissal of a government prior to that was completely unconstitutional.
And there are probably 87 instances when governments have been dismissed by the Congress party itself.
I haven't finished yet. One second.
Yeah.
Second, in Germany, there is a rule that you can vote out a government in a no confidence.
I did not get my time. Can I please
you can vote out a government in a no confidence motion. Sure, but that government does not have to resign till you have an alternate government in place, which prevents situations like 272 from happening over and over again.
Fair point. But hands going up on the panel. Reena Gupta.
Lastly, just one last point, Navika.
Too long, Abhijit. I'll come back to you. Reena Gupta, go for it.
Sense. This guy has made no sense. I think we should carry on to other panelists.
Reena Gupta, please respond.
In this whole bill,
never talk sense, yaar. What are you talking about sense? You've made a complete fool of yourself.
Okay, no personal comments, please. Let's get to the issue.
Please, it's my turn. Can I speak, please?
Yes, Reena.
And Navika after that.
So Navika ji, आप देखिए कि ये लोग एक कोई एग्जाम तो ढंग से कंडक्ट नहीं करा सकते. इनके हर समय पर्चे लीक होते रहते हैं. अभी झारखंड का चुनाव था, छोटा सा स्टेट है, वहां इन्होंने 2 फेज में इलेक्शन कराए. आपको याद है कोविड के बाद वेस्ट बंगाल में इन्होंने 7 फेज में इलेक्शन कराए. छोटे छोटे स्टेट में 1 फेज में इलेक्शन नहीं करवा सकते. ये पूरे देश में 140 करोड़ लोग जहां रहते हैं वहां एक साथ इलेक्शन कराएंगे. मुझे तो इनकी इस काबिलियत पे विश्वास नहीं है कि एक साथ इलेक्शन करा सकते हैं.
Fair point, Deepak Reddy respond.
This isn't a logical argument. This isn't even a remotely logical argument.
Navika ji, some of the points put out by the members of the opposition, I don't feel.
Make is not logical.
I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you, Abhijit. Deepak Reddy first. I'm coming to you.
Yeah. Let me just conclude. I don't feel they have any rational and justification to that. Say, for example, for the 2-year term, what they are talking about, that would be a deterrent for not falling the government within the period. So we need to look at reforms. We can't just say that what we did earlier is the best process. So definitely. The arguments being put out by the India ecosystem is just for the sake of opposing it, and it doesn't have merit. Not just this. I put out 4 other points earlier. So nobody talked, in a justifiable manner that they are wrong. So then again another good old trick by the India ecosystem, and not being constructive, but purely trying to oppose. But glad to see that today. Mr. Shah has come out of the cocoon of being an author, and now he's officially a congressman. Congratulations to him.
For a long time. But Sanjay Jha, your point.
Yeah. My simple point is this, Navika, and this is the underlying problem with the one nation, one election. A national party like the BJP, has maximum resources, has the entire institutions reporting to it, and during a campaign, it will subsume local issues. What the BJP does is nationalizes elections.
Are you saying voters in this country have no mind of their own? When there are simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha and Assembly, do you think people don't, decipher the difference in issues? Sanjay Jha, I think you are misjudging the people of India. But Abhijit, why don't you find their arguments logical?
I mean, you'll have one.
They violate their own arguments, Navika.
Let me say this, Navika.
This is the whole problem. They talk about destroying the constitution, but they themselves curtail terms of every single government. Why is the entire election calendar out of sync? They're saying it's unconstitutional, which means Nehru and Ambedkar were unconstitutional conducting elections at the same time. Why has this mismatch happened? It's because of the rampant misuse of the same thing.
Of Article 356.
This particular government
this will lead to horse trading in India. Operation Lotus and horse trading will become official.
But Sanjay Jha, according to you, that's already happening. GVL Narasimha Rao, now the charge is that you will do horse trading. Isn't that already something that you are charged with?
BJP's Operation Lotus will become the new political strategy in town.
Navika, Navika, what is being done, constitutional amendment proposed, when it is carried through, it will result in simultaneous elections forever. And Sanjay Jha says it's only for the BJP. So thank you for granting or accepting that BJP is going to be in power at the center for decades to come. Although it is not meant for a political party, you are already assuming it. Good for you. Okay, now next.
No, not good for the people of India.
No, because this is not a party-specific amendment. This is for better governance in India. This is
That
for
is the ulterior
ensuring
motive.
that we
One
have
nation, one election,
orderly elections.
One leader.
This is one of the biggest political reform in this country has ever seen.
Well, Ghanshyam Tiwari, do you also believe that one party will stay in power forever? They've only been here for the last 10 years, and look at the manner in which all political parties in the opposition are becoming insecure of one man, one party. Ghanshyam Tiwari, isn't this long term?
Let me add one quick point. I think we must give it to BJP that this whole model of one day, one Jumla, that continues. What are they talking about? They said demonetization was the biggest financial reform. Here Mr. Adani is indicted. Every BJP spokesperson, MP and minister are bending over their knees to defend him. And then they said with demonetization they will wipe out corruption. There is no end to the BJP jumlas, from 2 crore jobs to demonetization to this sham of one nation, one election. And here is Mr.
We are the fifth largest economy. Is that a jumla?
Please, I did not interrupt.
Where do you live?
Please, I did not interrupt you. Please.
I'm running out of time.
Mr. Deepak Reddy saying that his points were not answered. He contradicted himself. He said Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, who by the way called the Prime Minister a militant, he himself said that one nation, one election is not good for the country. Then he switches sides and he says, now it's not good for the state, but it's good for the nation.
Well, that can be said about many opposition parties today who are sitting with each other, including your own Ghanshyam Tiwari. आपकी पार्टी ने तो कांग्रेस पार्टी को छुट पहिया और पता नहीं क्या क्या बुलाया था. आज है ना दोस्ती. So elections and politics brings in new jumlas and new friends every other election. So let's not hold one against the other, because every party is guilty of switching sides, of making friends out of enemies. It happens every morning in politics. But the big question, reforms, electoral reforms, and that too one nation, one election. Is it a good thing? Why is the opposition not even willing to debate it? And why did it push it to the JPC, the Joint Parliamentary Committee? The question is, will they ever look at reforms and what people want? Well, we'll leave that question to our viewers to answer. Thank you very much to all my panelists joining me on debate number 1.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay